Yo, 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 what's good, YouTube? What's good? It's Stormybman, and I am back welcoming you to the Friday night chop session with Stormybman for this Friday, November 5th, 2021. This is episode number 130, and it's called Can Caleb Dethrone Canelo? And we are here to talk about the big fight coming up tomorrow night. Most of the show will be centered around that conversation and what it is going into the fight and what we may be expecting after the fight. But we'll also talk about the fights that took place tonight on ESPN, where we just saw a barn burner of a fight, which was, I'm glad I delayed the show. I'm kind of like, on point with this. When I've delayed the show for the sake of a card, we never disappoint or never get disappointed. So with that being said, I want to bring in my co-host of the show this evening, Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens, and we could get right down to the conversation opening up about the fight that was the main event that saw Mikaela Mayer taking on Maeva Havendush, and this was a unification in the women's division, junior lightweight, the IBF for Havendush and the WBO for Mayer. And what a fight, man. Welcome to the show, Reggie. How you doing this evening? And let's talk about it, man.
Yeah, what's up, man? The thing I got to take away from that fight, because it was a classic female boxing match there, them judges ought to be drug out and placed on top of a tree with a rope. That was a robbery. Mikaela could have won it, but these scorecards were bullcrap.
Yeah, and we could talk about it. The judges got it wrong on a couple of fights this evening, the co-main and also an undercard fight that was stopped prematurely. We've seen a little bit of all of the corruption on this ESPN broadcast this evening, and we could talk about it, but I'll give you the floor if you wanna go ahead and lay into this, what we've seen with these judges. And then we were told a couple of times on tonight's broadcast that a few of the judges that that judged the matches tonight are going to be a part of the promotion for tomorrow night's event, which that should put people on pins and needles. So go ahead, Reggie. You got the floor.
Yeah, watching the Mikaela fight, man, I thought it was Mikaela coming out here to box this much shorter woman, and hearing about this lady Hamadouch being like a knockout artist. She got a pretty high percentage of stoppages on the record. So I'm thinking Mikaela come out here to box, and Mikaela came and walked right towards this woman, decide to go to war with her. They go into a slugfest, and to me, it wasn't faring too well in the first half of this fight. And it was like Mikaela began to fade in the first round. I thought maybe Mikaela was just going to let this woman know, like, I'm here. I ain't worried about this power, and I'm going to bang it out with you. And I thought she'll release from that and go to boxing. It was like, no, she went almost 20 dang punches on the inside, slugging away. Then the other lady, they both trading. So I'm like, man, what the hell? Somebody about to get knocked out. I'm thinking Mikaela tossed up, going to get dropped or something. And they just hammered away at each other's heads. And then to watch Mikaela kind of start to fade a little bit in that first round as well. And then even in the second round, she really started to show fatigue with holding, but she fought her way through. And I thought that other lady was having a lot of success in that fight. They both were having back and forth moments in that fight. And I thought that woman was possibly edging her as I see Mikaela starting to fade away. But like the middle of the fight, Mikaela definitely gained a second win and as the other lady began to fade, Mikaela started to come on strong. And I was just looking like, man, somebody's about to get knocked out, man. These ladies went to goddamn war. And I was not expecting that, not one bit, especially with Michaela having these advantages in height. She didn't sit back, and that crowd was entertained to watch those women go at it like that. And I'm surprised none of them got knocked out or dropped, because they was connecting on each other's jaws a lot, connecting to the body a lot. It was really no wasted moments in that fight. I don't think it was too many moments where punches weren't being thrown by those two women. But to watch the judges score it 98-92, 99-91, and then one judge and get that girl one round in the championship damn fight that was fought like that. These judges better not be allowed to touch nowhere near that fight tomorrow. But that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, and you have a great point of view on that, Reggie. I can't argue it at all. Habadush, she won rounds in this fight. She may have even won half the rounds in the fight. The action was very, very much back and forth. You could either make a case for the busier person, the more energetic person, which was Habadush, and you could make a case for the clean, effective punches that were placed by Mayer. And either way that you look at it, the bout was highly contested. To the degree that even my wife got into it. She was like watching. And I just want to say that at the end of the day, I saw when the scorecards were read, I totally didn't agree with those scorecards. One judge had it 100 to 90, for Michaela, and as if she was in there shadow boxing all night and there wasn't an opponent. That was utterly ridiculous. When a fighter puts their all out there, like we saw several times that Maeva was hurt by some shots, body shots and a couple of clean punches that caught her coming in flush. She wobbled. She even buckled once, took a step back, but that woman soldiered on, and she showed fight in her that when you're watching the men's fight, you don't even see that. You know what I mean? A lot of times. And you have to respect what she brought. The woman comes from France, and she was a police officer over there, and in her victories, she had 18 knockouts. And you don't see a lot of knockouts in the women's division of boxing. And you could see why she had the knockouts, because she's very heavy-handed and she's like an Energizer bunny. I mean, her cardio is ridiculous. Even after absorbing those body shots, I could see there being a case made for a rematch, but it looked like tonight they were trying to make a star out of this woman, Michaela Mayer. And I just want to say that I really want to enjoy boxing for the combative arts and technique that the fighters can display, the courage, the heart, the fortitude, technique, skills, all of that, but why does the sport have to always be damaged by these stupid judges and referees? I can't stand it, man. It's like it mars everything. It puts a black eye on the sport. Salute to Antoine Richardson out there in that super chat. He says, salute everyone, 100. Salute to you, brother, and thank you for the super chat. But yeah, Reggie, it's almost like you just can't have something complete. It's always got to be an attachment there that shows the darkest of the sport. We can't just have something great and enjoy it. Like when the Cubs finally won a World Series, Cub fans who were still alive and been around for so many years and never saw them win had a chance to celebrate. But could you imagine if like they were celebrating and then somebody said, well, several of the team's players were busted for PEDs, and so now it mars the whole thing, right? It's like the celebration for your championship goes away because you got the black eye. Fortunately, that didn't happen, but I'm just kind of trying to draw a comparison of the letdown. We saw a great fight between two women who showed their spirit, but it was marred by the officiating and judging. And I don't know what to do. You and I talk about this all the time, ad nauseum. But I mean, what do you got to say about my comments, Reggie? About, you want to celebrate a great fight, but then you get this kind of decision, and it's like the other person didn't even participate.
I usually don't acknowledge the winner. I can't give the winner credit for a lot of this stuff. And I don't think a lot of fans give the winners credit for this stuff, especially if it's not going to be judged fair. You begin to turn crowds against fighters. Can't prop people's careers up, man. It does nothing for them. And a lot of times I think it's other people involved in it. I think Top Rank has something to be involved. And if they weren't, it had to do something with the celebrity behind this girl. They're building this girl. This other woman is, who knows where I don't know where she's from, France, she said. And she comes over here to get cheated. It's like backyard home cooking is what they handed out over here. And it's not cool. It's not fair. It's not fair to these fighters who put in that kind of work, that kind of sacrifice that goes into the sport for people who just come here for these weekends, haven't lifted not one weight. They barely lift up their car keys, ain't put in one foot of road work in. And they go in here and rob these fighters that go in, especially this woman went in here and battle like that to get her head knocked around, for her to knock the other girl's head around, and you act like she ain't put no work in. She can't even get around. Like, that ain't cool at all.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you on that 1,000%. But do you think that, bad scorecards aside, there was any chance that Michaela could have won this fight?
Yeah, I definitely think she probably could have won it by at least a round or two. And they could have went the other way with the other girl as well. The action was that close, but I think Michaela started to come on strong towards the second half, but then the other girl started to come on. It could have went either way, and I would have even took a draw. I think I would have edged more towards a draw possible.
Yeah, and now that you say that, you can actually make a case that this was a lot similar to Castaño and Charlo, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I feel you on that. But I definitely was caught up in the action of the fight, and I was like praising them, and I was like, celebrating both ladies for their efforts. And I still do. But the scoring, that is utter corrupt. That's utter corruption there. I don't know what to say or what to do about this. And then when you think about it going forward, we have a big event coming tomorrow night. How will that fare? Because if Caleb Plant is able to box and, do some good things in there, and the fight happens to go the distance, will it be fair scoring in this fight? If he's able to be, successful at points of the fight, and if Canelo isn't as successful as he is thought that he, is. But I don't know, man. It's a real headache. You and I have talked about this so much. I don't even know what to make of it, man. I don't know what to make of it. The Top Rank, you could see that they had favoritism going through these fights all evening. I know you and I we were texting back and forth about the other fights, and that co-main, I didn't feel that Melendez won that fight, and it was due to the styles of what was happening. But I know that at the end of it all, that Matisse he left the fight with probably a damaged hand. His left hand was damaged. And that was the punch that he was throwing really good body shots with, which I was wondering the last couple of rounds, why did he let up with those body punches or that stiff jab that he was putting out there early on. But I didn't feel he won that fight. It could have been a closer fight on the judges' scorecards, but the way they scored that one, they scored it like he was so far out in front in their match, Melendez, that it was like Matisse wasn't doing good work in there. So I don't know. And then when you had the other fight with the stoppage, where we saw what was that? Andres Cortez and Mark Bernardez, the Filipino guy against the Mexican guy. That fight. Now, yes, when it was stopped, Melendez, that guy, he was getting hurt, but the ref stepped in a little too soon. It's like, let the fight finish. If he's going to go down, let him go down. If he take a knee, let him take a knee, whatever. But he got shook and rocked, and then the ref, because the guy opened up with flurries and the guy's covering up to block him, it wasn't like he was covering up to cower. He was trying to block the shots because the guy's opening up on him, and the ref just steps in. Sometimes you have to let the fight go to its completion, and that marks of that type of corruption too, because you know that Cortez is a top-ranked fighter. He's, they talking about bringing him along and this and that, and they say these things before the first bell. And then when you see certain reactions or actions taking place after, then you question, like, okay, he's a house guy, so they're gonna make sure the house guy get his. I don't know, Reggie. It's what's up, man? You got something else on it, or?
Yeah, it's like, man, I don't know what they doing, man. And that stoppage was crap. And I was also looking at, man, was this referee's first day on the job? Because that was a Vegas fight, right?
Yeah, that was in Vegas tonight.
Yeah, and I'm like, I've never seen that referee in any of these fights I've watched here in Vegas. I haven't seen him. I've seen the other guy because I remember he was the first guy. He looks like the one who stopped Holyfield's son fight when he I think was making his debut in Vegas, and he stopped that one fight Holyfield's son was in very early.
Right.
So I think with the young refs, jumping in there, stopping where they think they saving a fighter, you're actually ruining the fight. He could have, if anything, he felt like the fighter was hurt, and he should have took that moment to get the fighter a count. Count as a knockdown. Go into the count. See where that fighter is, because in that moment, old boy wasn't really getting touched up at that moment. Old dude was throwing punches, which I think at some point that fighter was going to step back. That fighter was going to end up stepping away because he was throwing himself out. And the other thing is that the other guy didn't protest, but I don't think those people that come from that part of the world, because they're not, that celebratory about stuff, and they don't dispute things that much, that you don't get those reactions from them when they see something is stopped. It's just not in their culture and stuff. But he didn't even look that hurt after the fight was stopped. He was just looking over his corner, smiling like, what's going on? Like, and it's not cool to do that to these guys. I mean, yeah, the referee should evaluate him, give him an 8 count, evaluate him.
Yeah, you're right, because you get in boxing, you're gonna get rocked, right? If a guy hits you a good shot, you're gonna be rocked. You get stunned. But the thing is, this is what we say that's unfair. One guy could get stunned or rocked like that, then another guy could go down on the canvas and you screaming in his ear to wake him up with a long, slow count. I mean, come on, there's no consistency in this here. And that's what really works the sport over. I want to take a moment to quickly acknowledge the second super chat that came in from Antoine Richardson, because we were talking. Salute to Antoine. He says, showing homage and respect, Nite, good brother, 100. Yeah, and thank you again, Antoine. If you left the airway already, I apologize. We were just talking, but I wanted to acknowledge your super chat, and thank you again for the supporting the show. But yeah, Reggie, if a guy gets rocked, dazed, that's part of the sport, right? But that don't mean it's over. It's different if it's a guy at the end of his career, he's 39 years old, he's had 65 fights, and he gets hit a shot and he stumbles and wobbles like he's coming out of a bar or something. Then that's maybe you're thinking of him because he's had an extended career. But those two young guys was fresh as daisies. And as soon as they start landing punches on each other, they start hurting one another. It's just that Cortez has got through on him first, But then the ref jumps in, like you said, all inexperienced and trying to stop things. It just takes it to a place that we don't like, Yeah,
absolutely. Even the fighting with the younger kid, man, I don't know if that referee stoppage, I think that fighter should at least got a count as well, even though he was hurt. And also, speaking of that, I'm impressed with that 17-year-old kid. I was worried for him going into this against this dude, but not knowing the other dude only one fight of experience and hearing them, that's when I had the volume up and I was hearing them saying that Bob Arum was saying it's one of the best young talents he'd seen. And I said, man, what foreigner Bob Arum been brought out here? Because I'm looking at the last name, seeing a young black kid. Seeing how young this young kid looked, I was like, man, they about to get this young kid hurt. And I was thinking he had experience till they said this is his dang debut. I was like, oh, man, this kid about to get destroyed here on his first fight. And as soon as that bell rung and he threw his first jab, I was impressed from there. And then to watch him put more work together, I'm like, oh, this kid going to be okay. And then to see that he had some pop on his jab and all those other punches, he's clean when in transitioning back to defense. He's seeing shots as they're coming up, still knowing that he still needs to trim some of the amateur ways off. But he still was showing a lot of professional side of stuff. So I was like, that's a young, bad kid. And for him to go in there and get that guy up out of there, having him hurt. But once again, these inexperienced refs who just jump in there. But old boy was outgunned. This young kid is highly skilled. And then also to find out that he was one of the sparring partners in Shakur's camp. The kid is bad. And I think Shakur gave that kid some great work.
Yeah. He looks like one of those who might be a prodigy as well. He showed something tonight, and he's fast. That first jab, like you said, that when the fight started, when he went to the center of the ring to meet the opponent, that jab whipped out there like a lightning strike, man. It was like, and it was on from there, But yeah, these guys, Jay Prince be finding these young talents and be taking them to a top rank, man. Only for them to get their careers stalled out if they too good, because they don't want to put them in there with other fighters that they're really trying to, keep afloat in the sport. But, that's another story. But, yeah, overall, the co-main and the main event were decent. I like the main event. They seem to really favor Michaela. We have to say it. We have to tell it like it is, telling her backstory and this and that. and they kept going to commercials and coming back showing her and this and that. They showed a little bit of Maiva Amadou's backstory, but not as much as Michaela. But we could see why Amadouche was so dominant, you know, and had beaten up some very formidable fighters out there. She has something that a lot of the men fighters just don't have. You know, she has a on switch with no off, you know. And like you said, this could have been a draw, a split decision, you know, a point deciding the victor or whatever. But I felt for her leaving the stadium when she was walking out. I was like, man, you know, if, like you said, you come over here, you taking these punches, you doing everything, you're in a foreign land, and they just really just lift your title from you. It's not cool. It's not cool. And we're seeing it so much in the sport. We're seeing it so much. It's no longer like arbitrary. It's like a foregone conclusion that it's going to be controversial. That's how things are now. Salute to all the brothers out here in the chat. I know we got a lot of people out there. I didn't get a chance to call off or do roll call, but we had Mac of the South out there, Big Homie Coop, Underground Asylum, Ricky Williams is out there, Bowley, DP Rocker, Vernell Stevenson. Who else we got there? DOG 215. K-Rod is out there. Yeah, I appreciate everybody that stopped by. I know it's late, man. You know, that card. And they stretched that out too, Reggie. It's like, they, you know, all that airtime, you know, it kind of drug things along. This fight could have possibly been over and done with about an hour earlier than it ended. You know, I was concerned because I kept pushing the time back. You know, I told you when I was going to do the show after the fights, the card was starting already, and I said, okay, I'll push it back to like 10 o'clock. Then I saw that they kept putting these little 4-rounders in and stuff, and I was like, what is that about? And I put, you know, pushed it back. I kept pushing it back till I pushed it back to like 11:50, you know. So I did that like 4 times. Salute to the brother Trick Noti out there in that super chat. He says, salute Sensei. Good evening to the chat as well. Appreciate you, Trick Noti, and thank you for the donation for the channel, man. We saw a good one tonight though, but it leaves a bad taste in the mouth when the officiating and judging is like not up to par. So any last thoughts on tonight's card, Reggie, from everything that you was able to see collectively?
No, that's all I got on that.
Yeah. So yeah, we could go on into what we were talking about, which is basically the big fight for tomorrow night, which is, I think that's in Vegas as well, right? MGM Grand, yeah. So going into this one, Reggie, what do you think about Caleb Plant overall as a boxer before getting to this fight? Let us know what your thoughts are on Caleb.
I think highly of Caleb when I start seeing him finally getting into the ring, because I used to always see him on the Mayweather channel back like a while ago. I would always see him. As a matter of fact, I used to see him over here near my house. And anytime I see him around here was when he was running. He'd be putting in road work. And when I used to see him on, I used to always trip like, man, who is this white dude? Because he's always be the one heavyweight used to be around him named Marcellus Wiley. I've seen him post something about Caleb today. It used to be Marcellus Wiley. There was somebody else in there. I think Memphis Miller and some other cats. And Caleb was the only white guy in the gym, but he always seemed to be the angry one. He wasn't one of these old happy-go-lucky type white kids. And every time Jeff and them will be, they'll put some content up with the fighters. This dude always look mad. I'm like, God damn, this dude smile about anything? Like, this dude just mad. I'm like, man, and I can tell he's like a hood-raised white dude, but not knowing his story, not knowing the story. Matter of fact, when I was seeing him, his little baby may have still been alive or something, but not knowing that story about what condition the baby had and how he ended up losing her. So he had this chip on his shoulder. He had this edge, his background, everything he had to work for to get here. And he makes it clear. He makes it very clear because he ain't about to fall in the realm of being with what we see media do for the white athlete, giving them the easy road, giving them the shortcut. This kid ain't taking that. And that's why I rock with him. I don't even put him in any of those privileged type brackets. This kid has earned his way. I think that's the way he wants it to be. He wants to put in the hard work. He comes from hard work. And when I see him in the ring and seeing his abilities, to really seeing like he done learned something being around these brothers that he's been boxing with. He's putting in the hard work. He's dedicated himself to the sport. He's putting the sacrifices and it's paying out. Watching what he's done for other boxers, when he wants to outbox him, he's going to outbox him and not get touched. He's going to dance in the water and not get wet. And that's what is going to be needed going into that fight tomorrow. And especially someone who ain't afraid of Canelo. And also speaking on this one about what people I'm hearing, they're acting as if, in boxing, everybody gets these oars put around them. From Mike Tyson, you name the list. I done seen, who else I seen with the oar? Edison Miranda for a short minute because he can crack. Anyone, you name it. They have this, the Klitschko's had it at one point. It's just this aura of invincibility that's created, it's generating. A lot of us buy into it. We see what these fighters are doing, but then when you start looking into the depths of things, you begin to start questioning, like, man, who have they been fighting themselves as they look into the resume of other people? Who have Canelo really fought, being that many of his opponents have been defeated before they stepped in the ring? They're happy for the opportunity. They're not fighting for anything but the bag. There's nothing else that motivates them to go the steps higher to get past Canelo. We ain't see it from Billy Joe Saunders. Danny Jacobs couldn't defeat the guy. He wouldn't step the gears up, and he had Canelo. He had Triple G, but he showed way too much respect because he's happy for the moment. This kid, Caleb, ain't giving a damn about who Canelo is, and that is what's needed, and that's what's uncomforting for Canelo. Canelo can be outboxed. Many people have outboxed Canelo. He's not an invincible guy. He ain't no one-punch power destroyer. He ain't none of that. But he has this aura of invincibility. That is the common thing built around stars within the sport of boxing. But I'm ready to see it be cracked tomorrow.
Yeah. What do you think are his strengths going in to this fight? How do you see that as far as his strengths?
His strengths are going to be footwork, height, reach, combination boxing, defense, quick reflexes, so he's able to roll and catch the punches, because Canelo's going to load up on those counter hooks. I think Caleb can nullify a lot of that stuff, rolling, catching the shots, and countering with his own stuff. He just has to move around, keep this guy at range. Be tall when he wants to be tall in the fight. That's an Achilles for Canelo. So those are the things. His footwork, which is super key. Canelo ain't got the best footwork, ain't got the best abilities to move after fighters. He wants you in front of him. Caleb is taller than him. He's more rangier. He has a very good jab. Keep him at the end of the jab. Mix him in with them combinations. Get up out of there. And those are the things that I think he has over Canelo. He ain't got to match Canelo for power. And matter of fact, since they want to think Canelo's the power guy, maybe sometimes bully the bully, pull back out, box.
The one thing that I think he has going for him is the element of surprise. You could talk about the experience that Canelo has, you know, with the number of fights he's had under his belt and everything. But one thing that can never be measured is a man's desire to want something for himself or want something better or greater for himself. And that's immeasurable. You won't know until fight night, until they start mixing it up, what Plant will be bringing. But I have a sneaky suspicion that he's going to bring more spirit than Billy Joe Saunders brought. And Billy Joe Saunders was having some success with Canelo early, you know, but that went away after like 3-4 rounds. But early on, for a man who wants to show you he gonna be there all night until either you leave or you just gonna go to the final bell, you never know what that is or who that is. So that's another strength that he has, the unknown factor, the X factor. You mentioned mobility, his movement. That's very key. Canelo don't move from the waist down. You know, he is very slow of foot. I know he's hired a lot of black fighters to work with him in the gym. These black fighters are trying to help teach him how to deal with black fighters. But what happened to MBF, huh? What happened to that? Because there are black fighters out there who could have challenged him that he didn't fight, and he made sure he steered clear of, but then he hires black fighters to help him in sparring. Whatever. I think that I think that at the end of the day that Caleb, if he really wants to shut the naysayers up, he could ride on the hate, he could ride on the doubt, he could ride on the fact that there's no support or whatever. And when I say no support, I give an example. Today's weigh-in, you know, you saw the crowds booing him and stuff, but that was probably a heavy, you know, Latin crowd there participating, booing him and everything. But what I didn't like was when Canelo was doing an interview with Jimmy Lennon Jr., Mike Tyson walks over there. And Mike Tyson is giving dap to Canelo and everything in the midst of his interview. And of course, Jimmy Lennon is not going to ignore Mike Tyson. So he looks over to him and he's like, "Oh, Mike," he's like, "What do you got to say about, you know, Canelo, the big fight tomorrow?" He was like, "The champion's going to take it," and this and that. He's like, he's talking about Canelo, man, like he's his promoter or his manager or something like that. And I'm like, when did it happen that former fighters and champions in the sport of boxing just endorse a guy who's like maybe the popular opinion or whatever instead of being diplomatic? Mike Tyson goes against the grain with all the American fighters, you know, and he seems to like kowtow and sell out. I really don't like the guy. I don't like him, man, because he does these things, he says these things, and it's like, you know, he went out of his way to praise Anthony Joshua. Usyk whooped Anthony Joshua's butt. Now he's praising Usyk. Huh? Usyk don't need your praise, Mike Tyson. You're a sellout. Huh? You're a caricature of what you once were. And you haven't been what you once were in many a moon. I'm talking, it wasn't even the 90s, brother. Huh? Mike Tyson was probably at his best at 87, 88. Huh? Yeah, that's how long ago it was. You started the 90s off losing to Buster Douglas. Then you lost your freedom. Huh? And then you come back there and you lose to Evander. Huh? Then you lost it all to selling on yourself on down the river with drugs and whatever else you can put in your body that a professional fighter who has any discipline shouldn't do. You know what I mean? So now you out here and you doing the unpopular thing of endorsing the other guy. Canelo don't need your support. He got a whole country of Mexico behind him. Huh? And they despise people like you, Mike Tyson. They despise you. Huh? They'll call you names and everything. Words you can't even pronounce. But you over there bigging this guy up. Floyd Mayweather too. Same kind of thing. Bernard Hopkins too. Huh? Andre Ward had jumped over into that boat too, but he started feeling the heat. Now he trying to straddle the fence. But all of you guys, you go out there and you support these people from somewhere else that don't give a damn about you. Never have, never will. You still less than to them. Even when you knocking them out, they still calling you something. They still making fun of you. There's nothing you can do to conquer that outside of conquering the defeatist attitudes and mindsets that you bring that allow you to support them in the first freaking place. You ever seen a dog chase his own tail? That's y'all. I'm sorry, Reggie. I just went off into that because when I was watching that press conference and I saw Mike Tyson do that, man, I wish that, Jimmy Lennon could have turned into Larry Merchant for a moment and just shove him to the side and continue the interview. Because it's like he walked over there for two reasons. One, to get his stupid face on the camera, and two, to let everybody know that he's supporting Canelo Alvarez. Well, we don't give a damn, Mike Tyson. Huh? Go back into your own podcast and smoke your dope, huh? And bring these people on your show that you biased against their opponents and everything, because you wouldn't have Caleb on your show, because Caleb is a real man, huh? And Caleb is fighting with purpose. Canelo is a paid man, huh? He couldn't beat Floyd Mayweather or anybody who fights like Floyd Mayweather. That's why he's ducked all of those guys. Is he a decent fighter? Yes. But he ain't what y'all make him out to be. Caleb Plant, Deontay Wilder, these type of fighters with a real story of why they do what they do and how they found themselves to be at the top through everything that they have to go through in everyday life. They are relatable to us because we live the experience. And we don't sell ourselves. Ever since that woman embarrassed Mike Tyson on that broadcasted show with Barbara Walters, he done fell off on the other side. Huh? A clown. And people still think he's something. Do you hear him speak? Slurring his words and everything? That ain't from being beaten up in the ring. That's because he's always on something. And I ain't on nothing. I can speak very clearly. Huh? And I'm telling the truth about all of you. Out there can't even support your own, but you out there trying to belong. Get the hell out of here. I'm sorry, Reggie, but you got something else on Caleb going in to the fight?
No, I'm looking forward to him getting in there and doing everything it takes, man. If it gets tough, hopefully he's willing to go tougher. That he pushes it and he gives Canelo something that he like I say, Canelo hasn't been tested by none of these guys. And the guy that should have tested him was Kovalev, and watch Kovalev go in here and take an apparent dive against the dude. Seeing him taking the lesser of fights to earning titles, the Yildirim fights. And it's like, what has Canelo proven for himself? What has Canelo improved on? Being he's not getting it out of the opposition he's stepping in there with. And I think tomorrow, from everything he has done, those things are going to lead to his failure in being able to pull off this victory. I think he has a live wire opponent in front of him who doesn't give two damns about him. And hopefully he stays in Canelo's head. He needs to stay in Canelo's head while he has him in this moment. And Caleb also has to be mentally locked in as well. It's going to be a pro Canelo's crowd. Hopefully that's a driver for him, as hearing those fans up in those seats yelling to the rafters, shaking the stadiums and Canelo chairs. And it's probably no better feeling than I think of any athlete, any fighter can get when you silence a crowd full of supporters. There got to be nothing sweeter than that. And hopefully Caleb can experience that, win all these titles from this dude, and also visit the site where his daughter is buried, bring them titles like he's been promising a young baby. So I just really think there's a spirit behind the effort he's going to put in here. I think there's more motivating Caleb than there is motivating Canelo. All Canelo think he's going to go out here and knock this guy out. Canelo feeling what he did to Billy Joe Saunders. That right there got Canelo feeling himself. Let Canelo continue to think that he can crack everybody's eye. He's just looking to deliver one shot, and he forgets to even go out there to box. But just looking for Caleb to school this dude. And I would love to see Caleb drop this dude, because also can't take away, Caleb's the natural dude at that weight as well. So ain't about to play like Canelo's just some invincible, monumental guy in the sport. Just because he done went up to 175 and all this other trickery bull crap that he's done, like I ain't buying into it, because I ain't seen enough of him. Fighters he should have been fighting, he ain't been in there with him. And Canelo ain't just washed through every opponent he's been in there. He washed through the ones he's supposed to. But there's other fighters who've been giving Canelo a run for his money. It's just unfortunate judges don't see it. But that's my thoughts.
Yeah. And salute to my brother, Big Homie Coop, out there in the chat. But Big Homie Coop, I'm going to tell you something, man. I really appreciate you supporting me like you do and everything. But I'm going to say this one last time for my channel members and everything. When you got a person that come in here like that, Stormy don't believe in timeouts. Stormy believes in get the hell out. Because a person that will sit up for over 2 months to be a subscriber to come in here and try to be disruptive, they don't belong here. Who's here is family. And I can deal with family. Okay? And if you notice, when you look through here and everybody in the chat, you see avatars and pictures and images of everybody. When they come in here with them letters, that's agents of chaos. So handle that business. And shout out to Watcher out there. I appreciate you, Watcher. I know you be out there sometimes and people don't even know you there because you don't write in the chat. But I appreciate you being on the job, man. I really do. Because there's people out here that just look to be disruptive. And I'm not going to say no more about that because I'm not trying to take the show in any other direction but straight ahead. But shout out to my wrenches. Shout out to the brothers out there, Trick Noti. Absolutely. You know, we've talked, and Canelo ain't fooling me. He ain't fooling me. because he has bought people. Caleb Plant is not a man that can be bought. You just heard me say a moment ago what his story is about. Sometimes men like that who walk the straight and narrow, they have a tougher path. But they can live with themselves. They can sleep at night. Okay? And those are the type of, if you want to call them models, that you want to see be in a positive light. You see them giving shine to all other kind of individuals. They be cheaters out here, as it was mentioned in the chat. DOG 215, cheaters back cheaters. Absolutely. We just saw another example of that, didn't we? Remember Oscar Valpez? They let the guy fight. Doped up. Then we find out a little over a week after the fight, he had in his hometown, had a ceremony with a statue for him. That's why he was able to go through with the fight. And nobody said a word. I talked about it. I mentioned it in one of my shows. But this is what it is. I hope Canelo go in there trying to knock this man's head off. Because this man is going to show him. He's going to put him in his place. Because he's got more to fight for. You see the silk shirt that Canelo come to the weigh-in wearing? Look like a pajama shirt.
See, nightgown.
Huh?
He had on a nightgown like a woman.
Yeah. But see, that kind of thing like that, it tells you something. Caleb came in there in a sweatsuit. But that whole thing, listen, man, every once in a while, there's something that'll take place to kind of reset things and let people know this might be the night. That's why you need to tune in for this fight, because there's a lot more going on this than just two individuals matched up. Canelo has gone into this fight having missed several different opponents that he could have faced prior to now. They're talking about him having fought frequently. And the thing is, who has he fought in his frequency of fighting? Huh? Advil Yildirim, a former sparring partner, and a guy from the gym with him? That Callum Smith dude? One fight, he's setting records for jabs and everything, and against Canelo, he don't even know what a jab is anymore. The guy's 6'4". Kovalev? Really? What happened to the Crusher? In that fight against Kovalev, Kovalev was throwing punches as if he was sparring with a woman. Oh, that's a bad analogy, because knowing Kovalev, he liked to beat women up. So I shouldn't have said that. But he threw punches like he was scared to touch Canelo. And then late in the fight, he drops his guard and let the guy hit him with a two-piece, and he falls out like he's knocked out. And then less than 5 minutes later, he's over there clapping and smiling and everything. He's clapping and smiling because he got paid. But they celebrate Canelo beating him, right? But they didn't celebrate Andre Ward beating him. Huh? All of this stuff is a sham. And it's time for somebody to stand up. So I get behind Canelo. I get behind Caleb. I want him to be successful tomorrow night. for so many of the right reasons. And he's American. You can't get no more American than Nashville, huh? And he's in an interracial marriage. You can't get no more American than that, can you? How about that? For all you haters, you bigots, you prejudiced, racist, huh? There's so many reasons to celebrate someone like Caleb. What else you got on that, Reg?
No, that's all I got on that, man. I'm ready for Saturday, man. I'm ready to see if this dude gonna pull this one off, man. And hopefully he demolishes Canelo. And hopefully fans wake up from the dream of the fact that there's been an aura built around Canelo that hasn't been deserving. And I ain't gonna take nothing away. He can fight, but he ain't invincible. He's a bad dude, and I ain't gonna take away from him that he can fight, but he ain't invincible. He's going in here with someone who's gonna be on the same caliber as him. And I'm thinking Canelo gonna lose.
Yeah. It's time to start sending those energy vibes in the proper direction. We ain't sleep over here at the Stormybman channel. We wide awake. Did you hear the news, Reggie, about Virgil Ortiz?
No, what happened there? He gotta get surgery or something?
No. He's leaving the Garcia camp and he's going to Reynoso. Yeah, they released that news earlier this evening during the ESPN card. How about that?
He following a celebrity over there, I guess. I don't know.
Or maybe he want a tea bag. Maybe he going for the tea, huh? Because apparently over there, the getting is good. I am so ready for the Reynoso company to be brought down. Huh? So Virgil gonna go over there. You still ain't gonna get past Jaron Ennis. Still. Don't matter where you go. You can run, as Joe Louis once said, but you can't hide. They can teach you all about how to cheat over there. That's what they do. But they'll also try to teach them how to avoid nemesis, threats. Why would he leave Garcia? Interesting. What do you think of that, Reg?
I don't know, OG. I ain't gonna put it towards, I ain't gonna accuse him of trying to go get some of them drugs, but I don't know. Maybe he just didn't like what he was. This is the thing I always say with the Garcias. I like Garcia's dedication to the sport, what he brings to the sport as far as how many fighters he's out there training. Anytime you look up, Robert Garcia is there. But Robert Garcia has limits as far as where he can get a fighter up to. I don't think he's building anyone into these champions because he has this one style of fighting, and he has a style that avoids. He has a style that doesn't pay attention or capture what has been successful for the black fighters, which is what Reynoso has captured since losing to Floyd. And that's to bring in these other features that an athlete should be able to have. Garcia fighters tend to not have it. They stand in front of you, that Mexican style type fighting. And I think that's probably what Virgil's probably going to look for. He faced difficulty fighting that Garcia style against a Maurice Hooker, who most people thought he should have walked through. And then I think he had another fight that was tough before the Mean Machine. I think his Mean Machine fight was pretty tough. You know, he was able to get him out of there, but it's just not going to work with what Robert Garcia is giving him, and especially what he looks when he puts his hands up above his eyebrows and he's scanning the horizon. With what he got, with what he's tooled with, it ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work, and therefore, I think that's why he's leaving the Garcias to seek other type of training, and maybe it ain't gonna come from a Mexican gym. You probably gotta need to go in there with some black fighters. Because if you can't move to battle with Jerron Ennis, to battle with Terrence Crawford, hell, Danny Garcia may be tough for the guy. Who else is out there I'm missing out? Earl Spence, all these dudes. That style that he has, that he's learned from Garcia, it's time for him to graduate somewhere else, and I think that's why he chose that. But he's looking for another Mexican trainer. Could it be Reynoso? I don't know. We'll have to see, but I think he's trying to get something else implemented that Robert Garcia can't teach him.
Man, the chat is killing this dude. The chat is killing this dude. But you know what? Good. That's what we're talking about. We've seen in the past 10 years something in the American culture has changed, where, like, you remember when Floyd was fighting, one of his mantras in his gym was what, Reggie? Let me see if you can say what it was.
Oh, hard work, dedication.
Thank you. Right on. See, that's what I'm talking about. See, that's what it used to be about. Now, suckers are like, I'm taking my talents to South Beach, huh? And joining up with other guys, ganging up, clicking up. But when you find what's happening at the essence and core of that, in this instance, the Reynoso camp, you have several dudes done pop dirty over there. So, get your edge on, huh? Edge as in having an advantage against someone else, huh? Cutting corners. Did y'all, and I'm speaking to the chat as well as Reggie, did y'all ever see those photos of Ryan Garcia in the gym, and then he did like a before and after? He had got with Reynoso and those guys, and all of a sudden he had all these muscles and stuff. It looked almost like a Photoshop situation. Dude, you could go to the gym and work your ass off, and you ain't gonna look like that in 2 months. It don't work like that. The dude that played Thor in the Marvel movies, Chris Hemsworth, or Hugh Jackman that played Wolverine, in 3 to 4 months, they come out with those sculpted bodies. I know people who've been going to the gym every damn day and don't look like that. Huh? Why you think that is? Got milk? Phentamine tea? Huh? Clenbuterol steaks? Beef? Get the hell out of here, man. The needle, huh? The needle What's my man name who went to jail for selling the drugs and everything? And Shane Mosley got caught up in it, and some of those baseball players and stuff. What was his name, Reggie? Was it
the Balco scandal?
Yeah. You know, they got something special over there in the Reynoso group, but I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. There's going to come a time of reckoning. Now, I saw Canelo on that scale. He weighed in at 168. Watch how big he look when he get in the ring tomorrow. He going to be about 20 pounds bigger. Don't doubt me. Who the hell puts on 20 pounds in 24 hours? I'm telling you, bro. And then you put on all that weight and still have abs? Remember when he went up there and fought Sergey Kovalev? He went all the way up to 175 and had abs in his stomach just like he did today in the weigh-in. So how is that possible? People need to wake the hell up, man. I bet Caleb rehydrates up to whatever he normally rehydrates up to. But I bet you dollars to donuts that Canelo gonna weigh more than him tomorrow night. He gonna weigh more. So I just wanted to put that out there because I want people to be aware of the things to look at. And you know, that's not a subject that I talk about a lot. I don't say a lot about these things, but I know about them. Evander Holyfield used to fight heavyweight fights. He would come in around anywhere between 205 and 212. Couple weeks after his fight, he was back down to like 198 or 202. And he got like that after being able to be in touch with guys like, what's his name? Chad, the bodybuilder, Chaz Stevenson or something like that, and Lee Haney. Those guys, they put him on to what to do to carry extra weight. But drug testing wasn't as popular back then. Am I saying Evander was doping? He was doing something to put extra mass on that he could carry into a fight. But why was his walk-around weight so less than his fighting weight? The Klitschko's used to do the same thing, especially Vladimir. Vladimir would walk around 230 pounds, 228, something like that, maybe even 225. But when he got in the ring to fight, he was like 240, 250. It's you know, it's out there. There's plenty of things you can talk about here. Plenty of things. So Reg, did you have some other topics that you wanted to bring into that? Remember I mentioned earlier when we talked, if you had something else that you wanted to talk about.
No, that's kind of all I had from boxing. Just everything everybody's been speaking on their topics. Mainly this, I didn't know about Virgil bouncing from the Garcia camp. But I don't know. I'm gonna look at it, man. He'll be a damn fool. He go over there and start taking drugs. He'll be a damn fool. He go over there and do that when he's all these opportunities for these fights lined up for this dummy. He better not go over there and do that. But hopefully he goes over there for the right reasons to try to work on something. But I think he needs a little bit more than I think this is the other thing with Mexican fighters of today. A lot of them are limiting themselves by thinking they're playing this, well, I'm gonna stick with my race type ish. You're not getting out of these coaches of your own race. You're just not getting it. You're not fighting down in Mexico. You're not fighting in the Tex-Mex areas of Texas, the Cal Mex, the Arizona Mex, the New Mexico Mex. You ain't fighting none of that. This is an international sport. And Mexican style skills don't pay no damn bills. And Canelo learned that. So Virgil going down there just to be around with the next Mexican trainer and blah, 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 they're going to continuously come up short. And I think a lot of Mexican fighters have started to limit themselves. There ain't no Chavez is being produced in this current age. And Mexican fighters have been ashamed. They have shamed what it is to be a Mexican warrior. They've shamed what that is. None of them are achieving that. You get representation in Mexico is Ryan Garcia. but Virgil's got a lot of work to do if he's going to compete with these other guys, because right now he's nowhere even close. He's a counterpart with Jaron Ennis. He's nowhere close. He looked good coming out the gates, as all prospects do. He's there, but he has to add something, because when you look across the horizon, you must see who is right there next to you, or who might be a little bit out ahead of you. And Virgil gonna need a lot, and it's gonna be more than, can Virgil get in the ring with Jaron and land a lucky punch? Yeah, anybody can do that, but it's probably not gonna happen. But where do your skills line up with that guy? They don't, and he got a lot of things to work on. Same Mexico style boxing.
Yeah. What do you think about what the news also was released today, that Anthony Joshua is going to train for his rematch against Usyk in America? So it's obvious that he's picked one of those coaches that he visited. Could be Ronnie Shields. Doubt if it's Garcia, because Garcia, they beat the tire in their gym. Anybody know what that means? I'll leave it at that. They beat the tire in their gym. So, but apparently he visited Andre Ward and Virgil Hunter, Ronnie Shields, Garcia. I think he saw someone else too. I think he saw about five different gyms. Spent 2 days, he said, at each one. But what do you think about him training in America for his rematch with Usyk, when he originally said he don't need America? So what are your thoughts?
Everybody bites themselves in the ass. Not everybody, but foolish people bite themselves in the ass when they speak with such a foul tongue like AJ has. It's the right decision for him, and everything he spoke against as he began to go through his ups and downs, his trials and tribulations. He realized where he needs to take him somewhere, where you see where success is happening. Success is happening over here. It ain't happening over there. Same thing I said with the Mexican fighters I was speaking about earlier. The success happens here, because the better teachers are over here. There ain't too many of them, but still the better teachers are over here. And this and the backgrounds, it's too easy over there in the UK. The UK is too damn easy. They too sheltered. They too pampered. They still on the bosom. They still sucking breast milk out over there. That's what the UK is in comparison. They got to come over here and do the hard work and get the hard teachings. Joshua's a little bit way too soft to being a championship fighter, to being a heavyweight fighter. He's a little too soft. He needs to be roughened up a little bit. He needs a little bit more edge to him. And most of all, he needs his confidence built back up. I think his greatest problem, his greatest issue is his confidence. And Ronnie Shields is a guy that he needs. He needs a guy that is no nonsense, that ain't going to sit in the corner and be nice with you. He needs someone that's going to cuss him the hell out, like as if he was his father. He needs a father-like person over there. And I think even his father will probably approve over Ronnie Shields. He needs a father-like person who's tough on love. And that will work for Anthony Joshua. He don't need none of these soft shoeing ass trainers that just want him in there because he's out there to pay the big checks. These trainers out here just looking to scavenge off the dude. If he's serious about it, he's looking for a real American trainer, these no-nonsense trainers that's going to get up on you. And even especially in a fight, he needs someone that's going to push him. Possibly be inches away from wanting to slap him if he's not going out there doing what the trainer knows he needs to do, and the trainer knows that he can do, but he's just not doing it out of something that has infiltrated his damn brain. And that's his fear of, I don't know, like he can take the edge off of the fear of getting hit with a punch by just punching back. You're going to get hit anyway. Take that out your mind. And I think Shields is the right place for him. Most definitely. He can't go with Sugar Hill. Sugar Hill got Tyson Fury, who's another UK fighter who had to come over here and get the proper training.
Yeah. I believe that it don't matter who train him. When he get in there with Usyk again, Usyk gonna whoop his ass again. And that's simply because whatever he didn't do, they're saying that he didn't do, how he should have fought and could have fought and everything in that fight the first go around, Usyk trained and prepared for that man. And it turned out to be ridiculously easier for him that he didn't do those things. So if he comes into the second fight doing what they are asking or requiring to put as a blueprint for victory, Usyk will beat that man too, because he's ready. He's trained up for it. The guy is successful everywhere he's been, in the amateurs, in the pro-am, in the Olympics, at cruiserweight division, now at heavyweight division. This wasn't no punch from the gods and all of that other stupid foolishness he said. This is a man that is versed in boxing. And because there are so many who aren't schooled in boxing today, I talk about it all the time, that makes Usyk's success and what he brings to the table, and fighters like him, Josh Taylor, and a few others, that makes them more competitive because these guys are not practiced up. They're not schooled. And they don't work at their craft. They spend more time on social media and out buying $25,000 chains and ropes and stuff to put around their neck, and don't have any idea that the things that they're really hanging on their neck is an albatross of underachievement. Yeah. That's what that is. So when I spoke a moment ago and asked Reggie the question about what was the Mayweather mantra in their gym, hard work and dedication, who's saying that now? Who's doing that now? Who's displaying that now? But you got these guys out here, they'll get on social media and talk about they'll slap us in the mouth and all of that stuff. Huh? When life will slap them in the ass. All they got to do is just keep on living. I've seen the wheel turn. I've turned some wheels. See, some people think when they stealing checks that the getting is good, but that shit dries up. Just keep on living. Chris Felton out there says, in my opinion, an in-shape Chaz Witherspoon beats AJ. No, you know who beats AJ? That big brother that knocked out Michael, what's his name? What's his name? Reggie Rice, that heavyweight. Remember?
Oh, yeah, I know you're talking about. He got knocked out recently.
Yeah, when he upset old boy. We watched that night, and then that dude is big. He could beat AJ. He got a jab. I'm telling you, the heavyweight division is wide open, man. Wide open. Big Baby Miller blew it. He could have been doing some good stuff, man. It was there for him. And it's starting with the AJ fight. If he had just not done those things that he did. How long he's been out of the sport now? Like 3 years? Is that 3 or 4, Reggie?
I thought it was only like 2.
Is it only 2? Because last year was the pandemic. We at the end of this year, so that's 2 years right there.
Yeah, you're right. I think you're right.
When did AJ lose to Ruiz? 19, right? 2019? June of 2019?
Now that you threw the pandemic in there, man, you might be right at 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, so he been gone a while. That's a trip. All that opportunity, man. Yeah, so I know it's getting late, Reggie. We can get ready to break it down unless you got something else you want to say.
No, that's all I had on this. I'm just waiting for tomorrow. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Got a few hours away.
We'll be doing a post fight after the fights tomorrow too, so we'll come back and let everybody know our thoughts about the events. But let everybody know where they could find you, man, and we'll get ready to get on up out of here.
Yes, sir, man. We'll catch you guys tomorrow, man, for the post fight, man. You can catch me on Boxing Conversation with Reggie Owens as the main channel and the same channel with the number 2 at the end. But I'll catch you guys.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we will be back tomorrow evening with a post-fight show, hoping that everybody will get what they're looking for out of this fight tomorrow, which is entertainment at the end of the day. You know, that's the most important thing. I want to see a good fight, and I want to see Caleb win, and I want to see Canelo get his ass whooped. Is that too much to ask? Is that too tall an order? Because that's what I want, you know. Everybody have what they want, but that's what I want, you know. But yeah, we're going to get on up out of here, let everybody return to their beds, because I know it's late. And for some of it, I know that my man DOG, you said it was like 5:30 in the morning when we started over there, so it's got to be about 6:30 now for him, going on 7. So we appreciate everybody that tuned in. It's been another Friday night chop session, post-fight show, where we reviewed a little bit of the ESPN card this evening. And we're going to get out of here, let you guys get some rest, and we'll come back tomorrow night with post-fight. So for my man Boxing Conversation with Reggie Owens, it's Stormybman. We're going to check on up out of here. Peace to everybody. Salute, and we'll catch you soon.
Peace.